Welcome, everyone. I've got you all here to ask a few questions about the book club. You've all just finished with Larry and Cheryl Ellman about hypnotherapy from Dave Ellman. You've spent the last 12 weeks with each other reading through this book and discussing and talking. Have you enjoyed it, most importantly of all? Did anyone make some new friends while you learnt?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was so wonderful. It was the best thing I think I've ever done class-wise. It was like 12 weeks. We all got very bonded. It was a deep dive into the subject, which I thought I knew the Elman induction, but I really did not really know. So I got backstories, in-depth experience, and I've gotten to know several people that I maybe was friends with on Facebook, but now I know them at a deeper level, and it was just very, very fun and very educational. Thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Fantastic. So, do you now feel confident with the Dave Ellman induction?
Remember, folks, you just need to speak because people are not
Yeah.
seeing your nods.
Oh, sorry,
Nods
yeah.
don't show up.
I definitely do. And it's such foundational work that just everything else has used it to build, you know, their induction that yeah, it was nice.
So, Lance, what I wanted to share here is you have three people that all were at very different levels of their knowledge of hypnosis. So, Janet has been using it for years, okay? Marianne has just delved into it in the last real 6 months of delving into it. And you have Billy, who has been teaching it as, a presenter at the National Guild now for over 10 years, if I'm correct. And so there's a variety of knowledge that they come with and how they bind together. So, Marianne, what would that have been like for you?
Well, when I started, I thought it was going to be a book study, not a hands-on application of what we're studying. So, I mean, I originally thought, what could happen in 12 weeks? This is not that big a book. But so we would have the 2 hours of the class and then the half hour either at the end or periods interspersed with examples of like a rapid induction or catalyst induction. And of course the Ellman with this information behind it that made it more than a script. And by the end, we were doing, I don't want to call it ad lib, seat of the pants type of stuff with the core information that we received. So it was really interesting. And one of the best things, my takeaway was confidence. And not sticking to a script, kind of going with the flow, client-centered stuff. So it was very excellent for me.
That's where real hypnosis begins, when you don't have a script. And spending 12 weeks with a book like this, I assume that definitely happens, especially with that group interaction and playing with it and getting put on the spot.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Billy, having taught this sort of thing for years, did you still pick something up that you hadn't before from spending 12 weeks with this book and Larry and Cheryl?
Oh, without a doubt. I think Dave's Hypnotherapy is a book that you can pick up anytime you read it. You're going to find something new or understand something that you've already examined in new ways. I found that myself. In fact, my copy I have of the book is even an earlier edition than the one you're holding up that I picked up 20 years ago. And I know I haven't read it very much over the last decade. So this opportunity to sit down with everyone here in this virtual environment or online environment, and go through it chapter by chapter. It's just been extraordinary. And every chapter has given me a new perspective on some things I've been well acquainted with, and some things I've never worked with, like stuttering, which I'm looking right now at finding some clients to see if I can pursue a methodology that's based on what's in hypnotherapy.
Awesome. And so, did anyone's view of how hypnosis works or its potential shift within this 12 weeks?
Oh, I think mine did, definitely. I started my hypnosis journey really being more of a script notist, and then I had graduated away from that into more ad-libbing, but still having a bit of a script as a framework. But now I feel that I have a better conceptual grasp of the stages of an actual hypnosis induction part, as well as the progression into a therapy session, hypnotherapy session, that I feel a lot more competence in my own practice to kind of know that this is where I'm going. I don't need a script anymore. That was a crutch really. And I can just do what I do and just go with the flow of the client and the energy exchange, and a whole new market of dentistry has opened up for me. I am formerly a nurse, so I had wanted to market some of my services to medical personnel, either for use with their clients or for themselves. I hadn't even thought of dentists. So the chapter on dental use of hypnosis just was a big light bulb moment for me, and that's going to be a whole new market area that I'm going to concentrate on.
Awesome. And what was it like, Larry, to spend 12 weeks going bit by bit through Dad's work and sharing it with a whole group of hypnotherapists from a broad range of expertise?
Well, I always enjoy teaching it, but we were very, very lucky in these last couple of classes in that we had, as you've already pointed out, a broad range of experience. So you cover what you need to cover, and then you ask for questions, and you find yourself with a discussion among the students. And that's really the objective, as far as I'm concerned, of why you have a book study approach, because everybody's got a different view, everybody's had a different experience, and as they express these, you can meld them together and say, okay, what's best for more and more? And if you're lucky, you'll have a couple of students who are superb at melding everybody else together. And we were lucky. We had 3 or 4 really excellent students who did exactly that. So it made it very enjoyable for me.
Fantastic. And what was it like with some of the guest appearances of extra people that popped in to share their knowledge?
Billy.
Yeah, go ahead, Billy. We stick you with this one.
Stick me with this one? You're not sticking with me. No, the guests that you brought in, Sean Michael Andrews, Beryl Comer, who participated in probably close to half the sessions that I made it to, bring a lifetime of experience in each case. And they're very, very keen to share the difficult cases they've had, and what insights they had that were pertinent to the chapters that we were discussing. It was really added to the depth of it. And I myself, I'm also a psychologist, and so I've been accused of having as my hobby, neuroscience, but I've been absolutely floored with some of the observations that Dave made decades ago, and the things that he was tuned into, seemingly intuitively or guided by instinct, that now we know are underpinned by our biology and our the way our neurology works, in order to produce this phenomena and be able to use it therapeutically in hypnosis. So I have taken some notes in now 4 or 5 places that I think I could pull together some of the current understanding of neuroscience that would be able to add some dimension to what's there. But what Dave brings out in that text and what he could describe at that time, it's still today, well, as I'm saying, I'm comparing it to what we understand in neuroscience largely that's been identified in the last decade. And it's not only congruent, but I mean, it's spot on.
Mm-hmm.
He was the Einstein of hypnotherapy. You know, we're finding out today, just backed by science, what he had proposed back then is true.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Now, Billy, you said you got a copy of this book 20 years ago. When you read it way back then, do you feel you got as much out of it with just reading it on your own, playing with it with some clients, friends, and random subjects or victims that you found along the way? Did you get as much out of it then as you did now with a bunch of colleagues and students and Larry and Cheryl over 12 weeks?
I think you the way you've asked that question, I think you've answered it for yourself.
Oh, it's a leading question for sure.
No, and I don't mind answering it. Reading it on your own, you will get, based upon what you know at that time, what I knew 20 years ago, I gleaned as much of that book as I could. And clearly, it probably more than doubled my knowledge and understanding of hypnosis. But doing this in a group, especially a group like this with Larry and Cheryl and Janet, bringing her experience, but all the others that were in this, and in some cases it was a dozen or more people. Everyone's perspective, being able to bring that to bear and discuss it. There wasn't a page that we didn't discuss that I didn't leave with another viewpoint or vantage point, and increasing my own understanding. There's no comparison between reading this on your own and then what you have the opportunity to sit with, especially with Larry and everyone else that you brought into this into the groups that I participated in. There's no comparison. You walk away with your saddlebags full.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. The amount of top class hypnotists I've heard talk about or read in interviews where they're asked, like, what was the thing that got you into it? This book. What was the thing that really made hypnosis for you? This book. What's your favorite book on hypnosis for a beginner? This book. What's your favorite book for an advanced hypnotist? This book. It pops up all the time with people in our industry, and that's from people that have just been sitting reading it themselves and playing with it either in their office or with their friends or so on. So to have the opportunity to have a group of people with that diverse thing of beginner to somebody who's been playing with this book for 20 years to somebody who was being a nuisance while Dad was writing this book. No offense, Larry. I can imagine the sort of discussions that can come up and the extra insights and curiosities that it couldn't not be valuable.
Oh, it was so immersive. Oh, I'm sorry. And I'm also a professional massage therapist, and we have what we call tissue memory. And I really feel now, just having the immersive experience of the book club, the stories behind what's written in the book, some of that insight is just invaluable. And it'll be it's part of my DNA now.
Fantastic. And Larry and Cheryl, after running this book club a couple of times now, do you feel it's evolved in what you have to share from having all this extra experience put in?
Yes, and I find that we've put in additional resources. So every week the recording of the group goes into a Gumroad product so that it's forever there for them to listen to. We've added in things from tidbits from some of our products, of working with Sean Michael Andrews, Hans Rudy Wiff, and I'm looking to put more slivers in of things from other classes. A lot of Dave Ellman recordings and snippets are right there. So you're getting Ellman, and Ellman, so Dave's in there and you're getting to hear how he thinks things through. So, but what thing that I love is you can, and actually all three, Marianne, Billy, and Janet, sometimes we had two running simultaneously, and often the three of them would come to both. But yet, even coming to both, the discussion always ends up, there's some of the same, but the discussions become unique in their own. So coming up, we're going to be doing three simultaneously to cover different areas of the world. So we don't have people at 4:30 in the morning still hanging on. No, I still want to practice, which we did because we had people from 6 countries on the book study, last one. And to have them there and to have so much difference in each one based on the conversation or what paragraphs were poignant to them. So I could see this as always being, in a way, a new experience. I also have my friend, years ago, she took this book. She had manned my booth for us over at one of the conferences. And she took this home, and she was in Woodstock, New York, not that far. So I gave her a copy of everything, and she knew nothing about hypnosis before she came. And she took this book home. Now, this is somebody that hadn't really an interest in hypnosis or anything in that realm, and she took it home. She called me up. She goes, I can't put this book down. And hearing that from somebody that was not necessarily into hypnosis, but that just the appeal that it had to the general public, I found that really interesting, that she just couldn't put it down. I think, Marianne, you had a similar experience when you started reading this book, that
Yes.
you want to share that?
I really liked it, and it was more than entertaining. It wasn't a book that just, was light reading and say, oh, that's interesting. It was like there was a level of quite a bit of things that were on the cutting edge today, like neuroplasticity, the mind-body connection. And what Janet was talking about was tissue memory. And he talks about it in one of his chapters on, I think it's chemical anesthesia. And he was talking about the value of hypnosis, tapping into the hidden reserves, the reservoirs in people's bodies and in their minds. And it was like, I was like, what year was this written? Because it was so apropos to today. So, and I think I had actually read it one more time before the book study. So I kind of knew where the chapters were, and I knew what was going on by the book. But when you put life into it and people's experiences and their perspective, it's not even a book. It's a product. It's just a compilation of everybody's experience based on Dave Ellman's theories. and practice.
So I'm guessing, Marianne, from the way you've said that as well, if during that 12 weeks somebody took on too much and had a hectic week and didn't get to read the couple of chapters and they still turn up for class, they'd still be learning what's actually going on and understanding the bit they didn't do their pre-reading on.
Absolutely, because it was covering like 30 pages and it was open book. So if they hadn't read it, Larry and Cheryl would direct you to the page or the paragraph. And, you know, it was more alive than static. So it was excellent. You didn't have to read, but you should.
Yes, oh, of course, if you're going to get the most out of it. Well, no, somebody's
We
going
had, we had a great advantage following up on what Marianne just said. And that was that as you get going on this, you'd find various of the students, if somebody didn't spot something or got hung up or whatever, some other student would bring in a new example that would tie together what the book had said, what they had experienced, and give you an extra helping. And so we were very lucky in having an awful lot of very sharp students willing to help each other. But that also, for me, meant something that we haven't even touched. If you listen to my father's recordings, you find that he's teaching this and this subject, this and this week, it's on this and this record, but this particular class has an overwhelming number of people in that specialty. And the next night he'd be in a different town and he'd have people in this specialty or that specialty or whatever. And so every one of his classes was somewhat different. It would cover the same material that had to be covered in that area, but the examples and the comparisons and everything would vary. And I knew this from having gone through the course and from listening to the records. But to be there with a group of students doing this and then several days later doing it with a different group and seeing the difference in questions and whatever, this was very thrilling for me because I was seeing that if you're discussing, name anything, you will have different experiences among different practitioners. And being lucky enough to have a good group of students in both cases who could make the comparisons and relate to one another. And for a number of the students came to, let's say, both sessions in a particular week, and they would transfer their information. Oh, the other day I heard this and this version of it. And so it melded things together, and I found this fascinating.
I can imagine it would.
Another thing that it did was, for example, most people, our demographic seems to be 30s, 40s, 50s and up, you know. And so most people have already had some career before. And we always say, you know, nobody's really a newbie because you're coming in with experience, life experience, communications experience that people have gained throughout their life, you know, as they are going through their careers, you know. So you had Marianne come in with she's been a lawyer for decades now. I've lost track of how many, I think 30 something years, 40 years.
Long time.
30, yeah. And how that when as you would listen to this, you know, one of the things we talked about is how you realized a lot was going on with your clients and where that's starting to lead you. Do you mind addressing that a little, Marianne?
Towards I'd say at least 20, if not 25 years, I was working with disability clients. And, you know, the chronic pain, the stress, the PTSD, a lot of veterans with PTSD, what's it called? Military MST, military sexual trauma, men and women. And, you know, you're reading their medical records and you can see that they're not improving. It's a cycle. You know, try this drug, or the people that decided they were trading hells take the drug and maybe the pain goes away, but then the brain fog and everything else kicks in. So you'd have the people that were overly dependent on drugs but didn't want to be, and then the people that had it with drugs and just toughed it out through the day. And it was just like that was their brick wall in life. They couldn't get past the chronic pain. And my daughter's a medical doctor, and she's not necessarily 100% with the medical profession about drug protocol. So she believes in alternative medicines and non-medical, like holistic. And so this was something that I would tell my clients, was that, you know, keep looking for alternatives that are non-medical, like massage or chiropractic. And in our jurisdiction, probably everybody, the opiates were banned. So the pain clinics that were treating pain, chronic pain with opiates, suddenly open up to massage, acupuncture, pressure, chiropractic. This is all under the umbrella of a medical intervention. So it's just a matter of time before hypnosis is recognized as a therapeutic intervention for chronic pain, just to relieve it and improve the quality of life so that their baseline is tolerable and manageable by themselves. And it's empowering versus the helplessness and hopelessness of having to rely on a third party that doesn't give you the time to communicate your issues, because that's the way it is. So I found that, this is something that I was thinking of if I was going to have a subspecialty, that it might be pain management. I'm still debating on it, but it's very interesting, and it's a very, very viable future
Certainly
for
is.
hypnosis.
Mhm. So, Larry and Cheryl, is there any special guests that are planned to be popping in on this next run of the book club? Or is it a surprise?
Some of them are based on, sometimes when we invite people in, it's based on the students themselves and what their interests are,
Mhm.
you know, or all of a sudden I'll go, ooh, you know. So the last time you mentioned that we had Sean Michael Andrews. We also had Jason Lynette come in and talk about, you know, blending the different techniques together. And we had Tracy Barrett Adams come in and talk about childbirth and painless childbirth and hypnomothering, and also fertility. So, you know, originally Larry was like, "Oh, this is going to be a short chapter." I said, no, that's one that is actually out there, because people are always going to have children and they're always going to have postpartum, and let's get somebody in to really discuss this, you know. So she was very, very instrumental, and a few of us, I remember Tasha and I took her fertility course after. We had Melissa Roth come in and talk about fibromyalgia and the body pains, you know. And so we will probably continue to get some of those people and get more, because one thing that we love is from years of traveling around the world, we have lots and lots of contacts in different countries on their specialties. And part of it is even coming to you, Lance, and go, okay, so Lance, who in Australia and New Zealand would you recommend as specialists for such and such? So the idea is to bring in several guest speakers, at least 3 per class would be great. And have them talk on some of their specialties within those chapters. Have somebody come in that really does a lot of regression and hear some of their case studies. Beryl Komar, getting her at all hours to talk about the dentistry, and the hypnodontics. So there'll be a variety of people. And Lance, if you were going to be a guest besides somebody attending the class, if you were going to guest speak on a particular topic from Elman, hypnotherapy, what would your topic want to be?
I do a fair bit with pain, and obviously anxieties is my specialty. And there's elements within this that fit with that. So yes, I'll be definitely sharing some of that through all of the 12 weeks.
Good. Excellent. And then we might steal you and send you into one of the other classes and talk there, because we have one that's already started that is on Wednesdays Hong Kong time, so it could be in Hong Kong. So it would be 8 p.m. in Hong Kong. So by the time it got to you, it would be about 10 p.m., I think, correct?
That's what time we started here. So yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. And then, and then there's the one in Europe that would be probably too late for you. It would be in the middle of the night, but when you get up to give a bottle, you can pop into the class. So
I have to interrupt here and tell you something. I'm very, very proud of Cheryl Ong. We had a multi-week class, not the book club, but another course we were giving. And each session went on for, 6-8 hours, something like that. They were once a week over several weeks, months. And she arranged that we had students from 5 separate continents. Now think for a moment how many time zones that is. And to have people willing to attend classes under those circumstances, she had to be an artist in talking every one of the students into the idea that on these particular days, on this particular subject, you'll be in the middle of your normal working day. But on some other day, you're going to be in the middle of the night so that Tom over in someplace else has his normal day. And to be able to coordinate over several months on 5 continents with God knows how many time zones was an achievement on which I never thought it would work. And I am so very proud of a wonderful lady.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
that opens up that opportunity to re-catch up if you've missed, since there is those opportunities there.
Yeah, the recordings are there, so you can always pick those up. And we just take the recording and stick it right up there. So if we've done bloopers, or we've done oops moments, or we've done aha light bulb moments, it's all there in the raw. So one day maybe they'll all get filtered down, but just getting them down and then getting them up is great. Plus some of our speakers give us some things too, so we stick those up in there. And that's there forever. So if I come across something, I might continue throwing some new things into those products. And you can watch your videos online and download all the rest, but you don't have to take up, so you have this Gumroad library and you can watch it on any of your devices, wherever you are. I think, Billy, you were going to say something.
Dear lady, I was just trying to commend you on your diplomacy. And you seem to be far more effective than a number of people I know in our current State Department. But yes.
That's not, you don't have to raise much of a bar, dear.
I'm getting away from hypnotherapy now, but I'm applauding what you're able to do. And as Larry pointed out, I'm really, it's remarkable. In my era, I would have had to break out a nautical almanac. This is before the internet. Figure out how many time zones I was working with, and you did it in a matter of minutes. I was just floored like Larry too. So again, I applaud you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for your time. I can't imagine somebody watching this and not being inspired to come along, or at least pick up the book themselves and have a read. But they're gonna be reading this on their own and thinking, should have joined that book club. Should have joined that book club.
Yep. And it goes 3 months. So even if you were to miss the first couple of, I mean, the recordings are there. It will have been as if you were there, you know, and you can catch up. Plus, we've been very good at, okay, well, you're welcome to come to this one, you know. So if you can always pop into another one to hope to make up the differences. Yes, Janet.
One of the students even actually started a Facebook group for us as well, which has not yet been mentioned, because I do believe we've truly become our own community that is going to perpetuate itself as subsequent classes join in. And so that's been enriching as well.
Yes, a private Facebook group. There's also
It's just another attribute of Cheryl's diplomacy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to, Fiona from Australia was one of your own that did that for us this time, and she's great at it and gave a push, and we're just starting to use it. In Hong Kong, they all use WhatsApp, so there is now a WhatsApp group from that people will also be able to join, or perhaps each class have a WhatsApp group of their own, so they can easily call each other to or write to each other to see if they're available to get together now and practice. And I have a Zoom room that is going to be specifically a Zoom account that will be specifically set up for practice, and that people will be able to utilize that and make, you know, arrangements to come in, and there will be at least two a month scheduled extra practices, like, you know, all night, open it up, have it open 4, 5, 6 hours, or whatever people want to be able to get in and practice with each other, or even just get in and discuss with each other, and then use the breakout rooms. So, and that way, because we're over so many. Last time we had people from 6 different, countries in the last class, you know, and these classes we're hoping to have even more, because it's going to be widespread, and there's 3 classes, and so they'll all be able to meet up in that Zoom practice room also. So the good interchange, and I do believe people do really get close too. So I love that about these classes.
That sounds fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you all for giving up your mornings to be able to have a chat and to let everybody know some of these questions that they've had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we
Thank
hope
you.
to see you real soon.
Will do.